Well, I could be looking for that for one more year, but I'll give you a call, sir.
Okay, we'll call the December 7th, 2020 Management Services Committee to order. Yeah, roll.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? I'll do it. Is there a second? Student vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Public comments. Are there any public comments? Seeing none. County farm management issues. First thing on is discussion and action on fertilizer bids. So, we have a couple different ones here. First one is Tri-Central Co-op out of Ashland. They got phosphate, 39,580 pounds for a total of $9,754.70. Potassium, 41,580 pounds for $8,374. Limestone, 149.41 tons for a total of $3,884.66 for a total bid of $22,013.36. And if anybody wants to see them, pass them around. Next one is United Prairie low rate fertilizer bid. And they've got the same poundage on phosphate, potassium, no limestone, total of $19,954.42.
What was that number?
$954.42. United Prairie high rate. And for those that don't remember, the recommendation from the testing company gave a high and a low rate recommendation. That's why on a high rate, their phosphate is 41,340 pounds.
Who is it?
This is United Prairie.
Okay.
High rate, yeah. And their potassium is 100,440. Is that right? Okay. It is a lot higher rate.
Yeah.
That is total of $31,231.70, and they have a note on here that they do not recommend this rate, so they would recommend a lower rate. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah, United Prairie doesn't include the lime.
Yeah, you can go ahead and explain. I think I know why.
A lot of the pHs on that farm are high already, and where they have the lime going, it's going on your higher pH anyway, and it really does not call for any lime, period, if you follow the U of I recommendations.
Okay.
Is the long and short of it. I would almost I'd wait, I think we should be able to soil test it, I think either this year.
It'll be this year because we'll do the contract next year.
Right, and, we'll readjust the line situation at that time.
So, yeah, and in the past, there has been, really with the recommendations, most of them just not included line in it. Because it's not needed. So,
Tri-Central designate whether it was a low or high rate or just?
by the amounts, it is the low rate. Yeah.
So do you want a motion, or?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we accept United Prairie's low rate then.
okay. Mr. Duval, seconds. Is there any further discussion? And take the roll call.
Bowers?
Yes.
Ducat?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Zumwalt?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes. All right. So, as long as the full board approves it. So, all right.
All right, thank you.
All right. Discussion on county farm assessment. I didn't know if anybody wanted to look at, Bob mentioned at the last meeting that there was new assessments, so we got all the new assessments on all the different properties. So if anybody's interested in looking at those, there was only one that was a major change. So, it's just up to you guys, whether you wanna see it, you can come see them after the meeting too.
I have a question.
Yes,
So do we give them whatever the rates are we figuring that into, I know we've had that discussion before about whether or not they're actually paying what the taxes would be. Are we still doing that, or what did we ever?
for
The
the
county farm.
tenant, you mean?
Yes. We
Jill?
debated back and forth about it and then said we were gonna talk about it before the next one.
What is it that we're doing on that? How is the taxes figured and stuff? Do you remember?
We're taking care of it now.
Yeah, we pay for them now.
And it's,
Which as landowner, yeah, we take care of it. So you're wanting to know if we were, well,
as a landlord, normally you make sure that you get your insurance and your taxes back from
Right.
whatever the fees are that are charged. So that's my point. Because if you take all those things out, then we're really not doing quite as well as we think we're doing.
right. Well, since we put it out for bid, I guess, how would you suggest, since we put it out for bid, and take the highest bidder, how would we recoup that unless we put it?
I think we should just put it right out there. You're responsible for these amounts, just like we do. I mean, they have to reimburse for fertilizer and all that kind of stuff. So I think the taxes should be the same.
Some of you guys at farm, how does it normally handle?
Well, generally, the landowner takes care of the taxes. In those situations, I remember. Gives the rent. I mean, nothing, the rent covers the real estate tax.
Right. Well, one thing that Yeager did, was he let you know before the bills came out for tax season, but that helps a lot of farmers that are renting, because usually around November, that's when all leases are changed, or at the end of October is what I know. So you obviously adjust beforehand.
Right. So, I guess. It's open for discussion, whatever you guys think, how we can handle it.
You want to guarantee that it gets paid. I mean,
Well, and
I
that's,
know from my land,
with the fertilizer, they're responsible for paying it. We
Right.
pay it and then they reimburse.
that way you guarantee it's getting paid. But I think we ought to keep it this way.
Yeah, I do too.
And the rent just hopefully, well, it will cover it. It's just-
Yeah.
And then during the bid process, we can decide from the bid whether it's covered or not, you know, but
Yeah, we have the right to refuse any and all bids.
that's right.
If we refuse all the bids and nobody else bids, that's,
Roughly about 8 to 9,000.
there was no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it would be something, redoing the contract next year. Or $10,000.
Anybody got any other
Next year
farm
with the contract.
issues on?
The only, I mean, since we're talking about next year's lease, I think we need to also include on there, somewhere in the date, try to get this waterway seeded down south of the county farm. So, just,
That's been ongoing for quite a while.
yes, yeah. And, it was again farm free this year. So, I contacted one person, said they would do it, but I haven't heard any prices or anything, and it got into harvest. I guess I need to build a fire up there again, so we can get a price of what it would cost. Seed it, and then we can put wordage in there that it must be maintained, or if it's destroyed, it would be at the renter's expense.
So would that seating be at our expense?
I think so, yes, initially. And,
Okay.
So, and then we can put wording in there to protect it.
Okay, going back to this tax issue then, why do we not just include an extra $100 fee automatically into the new contract? Because that would that would take care of the taxes basically. But if we keep giving away all these things and paying for all these things, I'm on finance committee. We don't have this kind of money. We do not have this kind of money to keep just, I realize it's $100 here and $5,000 there. We don't have the money. So I've said my piece, I'm done with it, but I can't imagine that $100, is gonna, or I guess it would be more than 100. I'm sorry, that was bad, but.
I didn't quite understand the $100
That was incorrect figuring on my part. I'm talking about the taxes,
for the taxes. Okay, I realize that.
adding that back in.
Yeah, it'd be like
Taxes aren't.
700 or something.
Every property is different.
Yeah,
Well, if we just averaged it,
per acre, what's it, $20?
Yeah, I'd say less than 20.
Less than 20. How many acres we talking about?
But a lot of times when you're talking to farmers, they will, if we put this in there, then they'll just lower their bid.
Right.
So it's kind of a wash.
They'll have a top price that they'll pay. Okay. Any other, okay, were you done with this? Okay. We'll make some notes on the lease to make those corrections for the waterway and stuff. Okay, I don't know if Chris didn't realize we had a meeting today, or if he's busy.
He did, he was around this morning.
He may have figured that see if he responds. Moving on, solar project update. We checked with them, and this is the email Amanda received back. COVID has this project shut down with recent increases. Financial company has shut down completely. Sorry for this update. So, COVID's got it on hold.
I didn't know the other meeting was over.
Yeah, well, we just got to you and it's like, well, it's been coming.
Oh, good, good. Sorry about that.
So, we're up to you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Good Lord, sorry. Well, on a sec here. Oh, guys.
We should have came and got you in the other
I
meeting.
was literally just sitting down there. Okay. Start over at the courthouse and jail. A few weeks ago on a Saturday is the 21st of November, had an issue in the jail kitchen. Got a call by 8:30 in the morning, and there's a whole separate sanitary system that takes out everything from the jail kitchen and that area and goes into the grease trap. All that was backed up, and it was coming up some floor drains in the jail kitchen. Spent about 6 hours here with a couple of guys that were nice enough to come help out. One of them was in a deer stand and quit what he was doing and came to help out. Phillips was here and we jetted it out. Area Services came as well to help out with the whole process. Got everything cleaned out, got the grease trap pumped. It hadn't been pumped out in a few months. It's usually every other month they come and do that. There's another pit that they do monthly. But that all got taken care of. Let's see here. I don't know, there's a couple small hiccups with the heat system. There's an issue with the date that was in the system itself. It kept thinking it was in a different month. That got ironed out. Coupling, shear off between a motor and a pump impeller assembly. Got one that does that about once a year, and that keeps some of those on hand. Hanging unit heaters in the maintenance shed. Apparently those were both set to self-destruct in 2020 because all at once I had a handful of issues with both of those. I had a relay go bad on one. There's a capacitor on my inducing motor that went bad on another one. Took care of those. I purchased 2 pounds of salt. I built one over here and one over there. We purchased a floor machine for Yvonne. It's been an ongoing thing. The one that was there was the mid-90s that was purchased. And it's been in need for a few years now, and the way the budget's sat. Talked about the sheriff and city office, just do it, let's get a new one. So he saw that in the claims. I haven't even looked through this yet. Over here, door project down there, it's pretty much done. The side lights and the transoms have their glass in now. We were on hold for a while. That's all done. I'm not sure what kind of, if they want some lettering on those doors down there or not, but I haven't talked to the, I'll be honest, over here, with the exception of helping move things for people, it was I shouldn't even be saying this out loud, it was a pretty quiet month over here. There's no heat pump issues, nothing in the boiler room, nothing electrical. I'm sure that being said, the sinkhole opened up under the building. I did have I guess there are questions about a couple capital improvement projects for this year. One being the parking lot, and the other one being the sliding devices for the new retrofits for the jail doors. When do we need, because those are both going to, technically need to go out for bid. When do we want to do that?
Well, parking lot, we need to probably get done right away, because everybody will be doing their bidding on that. So,
As far as the other project, I have a spec sheet that was sent to me, so anyone that does wants a bid on top of the one that I have, they can be comparing apples to apples. I have all that here, it was emailed to me, and so when do you think would be a good idea to get on that? I mean, should we do it immediately, do you wanna wait till, or why we need to wait?
I would think we're in the new budget year, we may as well go ahead
Okay.
and get it moving. I mean, the parking lot, then they can schedule whenever, you know, whether they wanna do it first thing in the spring or later in the fall, but,
Okay.
you know.
I remember when they did the south lot, I'm almost positive they wound up doing it in July. It only took them a few days to have that whole thing done.
Yeah.
But, and honestly, I think other than that, that's, you know, a bunch of small piddly things. If you guys have any questions?
You've got the salt, everything else ready to go for snow.
Yeah, I have the new, I think I said this last month, there's a new shape blade for the bottom of the plow that I put on that Joel had given me. Yeah, everything's ready to go. You look at, it's smooth sailing, it seems, through December. You look at the weather, it's calling for stuff like this for the next few weeks, so, knock on wood, maybe we'll,
Every good day is one less bad.
oh my gosh, I'm loving this. So yeah, we're all ready to go. Ready for the snow, whatever happens.
Anybody else got any questions?
I do,
Yeah.
Just,
too. Did you happen to do any checking about those Pure Shield air filter things?
no, well, that's a lie. I have talked to Nicholas about them.
Mm-hmm.
Ran it by the sheriff and kind of just ended there. And I don't know if it is something that we wanted to do, is that something that we would want to come out of maintenance budget or?
Well, I would talk to Dee and see if any of her COVID money would pay for some of that, first off, her grant money. And then we also got the grant money, or we have that impending grant money from DCEO, the CURES grant. So there's opportunities there. I have 3 of them at my building.
Yeah.
And I have a terrible issue with a grease trap at my building that likes to smell just delightful every once in a while. And since I put those things in, it's amazing. It was like a 24-hour turnaround. So I figure anything that can keep people healthier that we might be able to pick up on grant money would be worth checking into.
Okay, where would you propose putting them?
That you'd have to, well, I think the sheriff's, the jail would be the primo place, just with
That's
this.
entirely up to him, that's.
Right, and I get
I can
that.
mention it to
I
him.
get that, but, you know, even if it kept his employees healthier,
Yeah.
it would certainly be, when you're in a tight space like that all the time and everything else, I'm sure that can't be the only issue.
How long have you had them in your office?
Going on 2 weeks,
Oh.
so short term,
Yeah.
but
I was just wondering if you had any ideas on what kind of maintenance they were gonna require or anything.
they need a new filter once every 2 years. That's pretty much it there. It's a good company, it's a good product so far. I mean, I say that with 2 weeks, but I mean, I did do my homework on them and it looks like it's a pretty good deal. It's supposed to keep 99.9% of virus and bacteria out of your air, so. I got them thinking not only, I'm not just thinking about COVID, but, you know, little kids are notorious for stomach flu. So I figured if I could keep that out of my building, I'm, you know, a win-win situation there. But, and then the second thing, I know that you guys, with this whole break and Hilt's coming in and pumping and everything, does he need to pump more frequently? I mean, maybe, do we need to get him on an every 2 week or twice a month or, I don't know, something like that? I know you have a lot of stuff that gets thrown down the toilets over there and everything, so would it be better to get him here more often and just establish a fee with him, or just take our?
He does pump, was supposed to pump the main pit that comes from the inmate cells and stuff. That's a month to month and a half, but a lot of times it winds up being longer than that, just depending on his schedule. But the grease trap, no.
Yeah, the grease traps.
It was, I had to kind of talk with the cooks too, because they're, anything that would grind up in the kitchen, they're just throwing into the disposal, like all the food from all the trays. and that, because that's all that was in there, I mean, it was just this. But he did raise our price this past year, I think by maybe $100 or something per visit, but I don't know.
Well, if he was on maybe a more consistent, hey, we would like you to, or would that, I mean, maybe he'd give us a better rate if he was coming.
When every single time he comes, he's gonna charge what he does, because what he has to do when he leaves here with it.
Right, right, I understand,
He
especially
can't dump
from,
it into the sanitary, so
Right.
he has to take it, and they literally have baskets they've made
right,
that, to strain all that out, and,
right,
but
okay. Just checking.
Any other questions? See none? Thank you, Chris. We're down to claims. Anybody got questions on claims? Did you want a copy of claims, anybody?
You're gonna have Angel Pest Control stop spraying Head Start?
they already have.
Okay, I see it's on here for.
That would have been from like a month ago, though, it's sort of lagging,
Okay.
but yeah, he called me, Ed, this, I don't know, it was maybe 2 weeks ago, and if I could let him in, and I said, no, he said, or I told him to, no more. Till we figure out what's going in there, I don't know eventually what's gonna happen over there, because there is a little kitchenette in there and whatnot, so I'll know in the future if we need him to come back, whatever happens, but no, he won't be doing that anymore.
Okay.
All right, claims. Motion?
Motion paid.
You make a motion?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay. Everybody?
Bowers?
Yes.
Ducat?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Sumall?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes. Is there any old business?
Is there any updates on Head Start moving, or have heard anything, or seen anything?
How are they progressing?
As of last week, Dale and Janet and I went in there just to take a look, and they're ready to move. They have everything packed up in boxes and totes and whatnot, but it's all just in there in mountains. So I don't know, it looks like they're planning a big move at some point. But I haven't spoken with anyone, I haven't actually seen anyone around, but
I just spoke with one of the ladies over there, and she basically said they're just waiting on moving the stuff into storage, and she will bring their keys over when that happens.
We're old business. You got any new business? You got anything you need to tell us? Dee? I don't know why you came
Well,
in, so.
Oh, I didn't know if I needed to be here. I didn't know if you wanted me for any discussion about the moving or.
Well, Chris just gave a little update that they've got everything packed down there, but nothing ready. Well, it's not out yet.
That's okay. We're patient. It's okay. Having this break room has been a huge blessing, and we thank you so much for that. That has made a huge difference, at least for contact tracing. Right now, we've got about 5 staff members using that room. It definitely helped with trying to spread people out 6 feet apart. And then later on, if we're able to, use that glassed-in area, we'll probably make that administration. And Taylor and Sandy and I will move, because I would like to keep all the nurses together. So we'll keep the clinical services in the lab and do all of the communicable disease stuff, the programs that would fall under that, and community health and community education and stuff in the other room, so that they're kind of all together in one area, and then utilize the break room for environmental health. Environmental health has always needed a sink. For example, I'll just give you one example. Like when they're doing the mosquitoes, and they have to go out and collect those mosquito samples every morning, and then they bring them back and freeze them. They have to crush those mosquitoes up. They hand pick out the the mosquitoes, the appropriate ones, because there's different types. And then they have to crush them and then chemically test them for West Nile virus presence. And when they do that, they're handling all these mosquitoes and things, and it's not going to be nice for them to have a sink without having to use the public restroom, especially if they're dealing with West Nile virus on their hands, you know? So that's going to be a huge blessing. So I'll move environmental health into the break room and then leave senior services where they're at. And that will definitely help us with the East Central Area Agency on Aging meeting their requirements of protecting those seniors' private information. So this should work well when we're done. Should be a blessing for us.
I don't know if you caught the tail end as you were walking in. I was just saying I put my head in Head Start last week with Dale, and they're ready to move. Everything is packed up in boxes and totes and whatnot. It's all just in there, so it looks like they're planning a move date at some point. But they're ready to go. It's all just still in there.
Okay. We're so busy right now with contact tracing for COVID-19 and case investigations that that eventually we'll obviously want that other space and to get back to some normality, but right now we're okay. Just having that break room has made a huge difference for us as far as that goes. It doesn't affect the other grants and programs, but that's been a blessing. So thank you for all the work that you've done. Chris has been fabulous.
Of course he has.
He really, no, seriously, he really has. Anytime we have a need, you know, anything breaks, he comes and fixes it. Any needs we have, he's been fabulous. We cannot ask for better.
I was late to the meeting today.
Because you were working.
So I wouldn't, don't call me too much.
No, really, we're very fortunate to have him.
It was brought up at the meeting, what did you call Sherry? Filters?
The Pure Shield filters. We have Pure Shield filters at the Park District now, and they're guaranteed to take 99.9% of the virus and bacteria out. I told him that maybe he should check with you and see if any of your grant money was available, that they could be purchased for the main areas here, and maybe see if the sheriff would go for it over at least in the jail part.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Anything we can do to protect each other is great.
Does the health department have anything to do with the vaccine?
Yes. So, I'll give more information to you tomorrow at the health committee, but to kind of summarize that, the vaccine, when it comes out, it's my understanding so far that it will come out through the Strategic National Stockpile allocations. So it will go to hospitals and to health departments, and then be distributed out from those places. So we will definitely be receiving vaccine at some point in time. They will only be distributing it to 50 counties out of the 103 counties in the state of Illinois. 50 counties will get the vaccine. There are approximately 97 health departments, so that means 47 health departments are not going to get vaccines during the first round. They'll wait till the second round. We have not been notified. No one's been notified yet which counties will get them and which ones won't. But we have been told that it will be the counties with the highest death rates, mortality rates, so and morbidity rates. So whether they'll use the mortality rates, which is illness, and the morbidity rates, which is the death rates, we don't know yet. That's still all kind of unclear right now. There's a lot going to happen. I understand tomorrow that there's an FDA approval for, they'll actually be voting on the priority list. We've been given a heads up of what that priority list may look like, but it's obviously subject to change. So we'll see. The first round distribution will probably go to hospitals and healthcare staff, hospitals, health departments. After that, we don't know this, so this is all hypothetical right now. It has not been approved. We were told that the second round would go to long-term care facilities. That includes, nursing homes, SILAs, rehabs, that where a lot of elderly people reside. They told us that after that, the list would possibly be then after long-term care facilities, emergency service personnel, fire, ambulance, EMTs, paramedics, that sort of thing. Then after that would probably be doctors' offices and clinics. After that would probably be anyone 65 or older who had a diagnosed medical condition where that would compromise their immune system. And then after that, it would go to anyone 65 or older. And then after that, then it'll go to the general public. So we are probably looking at, by the time all these rounds and distributions come out, I'm guessing, and it's a guess, I'm guessing that the general public won't see vaccination until at least April, May, June, somewhere in there. Don't quote me on that.
So I've been working with the public health department for Kinky County. They're actually going to use my facility as their hotspot. Have you already been through the process too and found a specific place for you also to set up for
Yes,
the
for
county?
distribution, yeah. So we have always had an emergency plan in place, and when we mass distributed for H1N1, we went out into the communities and had community vaccinations. But because there's a 6 feet social distancing requirement with COVID-19, we probably won't be doing them in separate communities to begin with, at least at the start. So we do have a site that we have always planned as our primary distribution site, and we'll probably stick with that. There is a possibility that we would ask the county board to make the site here and use this Circle Drive as a drive-through and do drive-through. We've been looking at those options as well, and we actually have a lot of plans in place. We just need to find out how many we're getting, how many doses we're getting, to make those determinations, and what kind we're getting at first. If we're not in the first phase, Pfizer will come out first. We know that, or we think that they will. That is an ultra cold vaccine. So it needs to be stored in a refrigerator that's a negative 80 degrees or colder. And that vaccine will have to be put on dry ice. It will need to be distributed within, the dry ice could be replaced every so often, 24 to 48 hours. But that has to be used within 5 days of thawing. So, once we get a vaccine like that, we'll act quick. It'll be quick. So our plans have got to be ready to go and in place.
Tell them everything up there,
Yeah.
like we need to have,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, and they're explaining the process, how they're going to use the parking lots. And
Yeah. The good thing about it is, for some of us, it's not our first rodeo, because we did this with H1N1,
okay.
and it worked pretty well, and we had a lot of lessons learned from that. So we think we are not in bad shape as far as our plans go. If we do not get that vaccine and we get second round vaccine will probably be Moderna. Now that is just put in a regular refrigerator, a vaccine refrigerator, not a regular household refrigerator, but a vaccine refrigerator. And so that will give us some extra time to get other things set up, especially when we start breaking down populations that can get it. I can tell you this, the biggest nightmare for me, and I was the community health coordinator at the time, so I basically was the director of nursing who did all the H1N1 distribution. I was in charge of that. The biggest headache by far, the biggest nightmare by far, were the amounts of people in the public that were angry because they wanted it and we were only able to give it per the instructions that came from the next strategic national stockpile. In other words, you'll get somebody who's 64, and we can only give it for 65 and older, and they're mad, and they are mad, and extremely angry because they're not getting it, and, you know, that was our biggest issue, was the people who wanted it, and we were not able to provide it to them, because once we accept that strategic national stockpile distribution, we also accept their terms, and we have to abide by those. You know, things are going to be different than they were with H1N1. When it was H1N1, they told us specifically that as we vaccinated each group with subsequent deliveries, that their households were included. This time, households are not included, and they've made that very clear to us on our weekly calls. So, for example, as health department administrator, if I got, and I'm a nurse, and I get shots, so if I got the vaccine, my husband would also be eligible to get the vaccine during that round. This time, family members will not be included. So he will not be able to get it until the general public gets it, unless he fits into another category. So that's going to be something that's different, but we will absolutely abide by those categories, because if we don't, they can stop our SNS distribution, and we don't want that to happen for our county. So we will you know, take their guidance into account, and we will follow it. Unfortunately, we will have people in the public that will be very angry because they're not included, that want it.
Now, people who have had it, is there still a need to get vaccinated, because they said at one time they weren't sure?
What we'll need to do is we'll need to go back in, we'll look at their record, and we'll have that on file at the health department. So one of the great things about when we were setting up for remote access for everybody is that we can take our laptops now out to, you know, the grant paid for, you know, us to get a bunch of new laptops. So we can remote access right into our desktop here, as long as we have you know, use a Wi-Fi hotspot or something, and have an internet connection. We can do that, and we can check to see what date that person tested positive. And it won't be like H1N1 where they thought they were exposed, and like, no, you either tested positive or you didn't test positive. And if you tested positive, you're considered immune for up to 90 days. So during that 90-day period that anyone tests positive, if that person comes into contact with someone else who is ill, they do not go back into isolation or quarantine for 90 days, for at least a 90-day period. The state is telling us that's you know, not to re-quarantine or re-isolate anyone who's tested positive for a minimum of 90 days. What happens after that 90-day period, I don't know. We're going to get there, but we're going to find out. You know, the state doesn't have any further guidance on that, but yeah, they're telling us just to re-quarantine them or re-isolate them after that 90-day period, but not before. So if someone has tested positive in the 90 days, they're you know, considered immune. Do they get the vaccine or not? We're still waiting on state guidance for that. You know, and do we wait and, you know, give them their 90-day period and then subsequently vaccinate them later? Now here's the problem with that. Now think about this. So if you've got somebody, let's say we only get 1,000 doses in our first round. We don't know how many we're going to get. We have not been given an allocation number. Okay, I get phone calls from press, TV channels, radios, newspapers every day wanting to know how many doses are we going to get and when do we expect them. We have not been notified of that yet. That is still pending. Okay, once we get notified, they will notify us 24 hours before that drop is made to us. We have a drop site within the county. We will meet them at the drop site. We will pick that up, and then it will be stored in a undisclosed location until it is distributed. At that point in time, we'll know 24 hours in advance how many doses we're going to get. We may not get enough doses to even meet the whole first round criteria. we may not get enough doses to do every healthcare, hospital and health department staff worker. Okay, now if that's the case, then what I'm going to do as the health department administrator is I'm going to start looking names up as people come through, and if they have some immunity for 90 days, we're going to wait and get them on the second round. You see what I'm saying? There's going to be a lot more to this than what people think.
Are both vaccines considered a two-step vaccine?
Yes. All vaccines will have 2 shots. Right now, depending on what is voted on with the emergency use authorization, they will probably be 8 weeks apart. But that hasn't been determined right now yet either, because that will all be voted on, I think, tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 10th? What's
Thursday.
Thursday.
So when they send you, say they send you 100 doses, is that 100 doubles?
No. They're going to make the health department, as far as I know, they're going to make the health departments determine whether they want to hold that second dose or not. I think it's better to get some immunity in for some people, rather than to hold a second dose for people that may or may not come back and get their second dose. So if they leave that, we may be told what to do. Okay, we don't know what the final thing is, but if they leave that up to the health departments, I can already tell you that I won't be holding doses. It's better for somebody to get one at 10 weeks than somebody else not to be vaccinated at all.
Is the first dose and the second dose the same thing?
We think it is, but we don't know that yet either. They're giving us information, but it's limited and it's subject to change, and it will depend on what gets approved and what does not get approved this week. And next week. So we're waiting, just like you're waiting. There are a lot of juggling parts to this, and we're doing the best we can do.
Well, you didn't come in here to get drilled.
No, that's okay. You can ask questions. I expect people want I just wish I had concrete answers for you, and right now a lot of the answers will depend on what's voted on over the next week, and what's FDA approved, and what's ACIP approved, and what's governmentally approved, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. So we're waiting as well. There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of misinformation out there. A lot of articles, not locally, but nationally, are being written about things that probably are not accurate. And no one can say, this many doses are going here and here and here, because it's an estimation. It's we don't know that yet. So as soon as we do know and we have concrete plans in place, before we distribute, I plan to have a press conference. That, I plan to do it hopefully in this room, here in the county board room. I'll definitely be inviting Carla and some of the other local entities, and I will go over it with them and say, here's what we got, here's how we're going to distribute it, and I want to be transparent and go from there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new business? If not, I'll have a motion from Mr. Ducott to adjourn. Is there a second? Roberts, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Carla, if you have questions,